Hey viewers, I'm back with another fork overhaul video. I've already done a bunch of them with different flavors of forks, but today I'm going to be doing a Rock Shox Jett XC fork. I'm going to be taking it apart, cleaning it, lubing it, and putting it all back together, so stay tuned for that. Now if you're interested in working on bikes, be sure to click that subscribe button, click that little bell so you get notified when I come out with new videos. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start by taking off the front wheel, disengage the brake here. This is the skewer. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove these brakes just to get them out of the way. Now normally when I overhaul forks, I usually do it with them still mounted on the bike, but these particular ones, there's a whole bunch of oil inside which I'm going to have to dump out and everything, so it's just going to be a lot easier to remove them from the bike, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'll remove this top cap, then loosen the stem mounting bolts here. Ah, those are tight. Slide that off. Slide these spacers off. Just tap down with a mallet here. Little wedge part in here is just jammed in there. There we go. And the fork is off. Now I want to remove these adjuster caps here. I'm going to be using a 22mm socket, and since they're plastic and I'm worried about stripping them, I'm going to use a 6-point socket to remove these. And so I can get my ratchet wrench here. One cap off. And second cap off. And now I can compress these forks, and these springs will come out here like this, and I can lift these springs out. And be careful because there's oil inside, so the oil is going to be dripping down there. So I'll put these aside. Now before I dump the oil out there, there's a couple little parts in there that I want to remove. And so what I do is I have a long 6mm hex socket here on an extension. So I'm going to reach down in there, get the little part in there, kind of hook into the part when I find it. Push in, and then I can lift the part out like this. And so I'm going to do the other side as well. Push down and then just lift it out like that. And I'll put these aside. And so now I want to dump out all the old oil. So I'm going to dump it into here. Okay, so now that I have all the oil drained out of here, I'm going to put this into a container and then I'll take it off to a place to be disposed of. So be sure to properly dispose of any oil like this, however your local area handles it. Now the next step is to remove the lowers. To remove the lowers, down the tube, there's a hole, and recessed down in the hole deep is another bolt, and there's bolts on each side. I need to remove those bolts. To reach that bolt through the hole, I need a really long 6mm hex socket here. The bit of the hex socket needs to be at least 6 inches long. This one's close to 7. And I had a hard time finding one that long, so I actually made this. I made a video on making this, so go check that out. So anyway, what I want to do is I'll lock this onto the end of extension because I need an extension in order to reach down. And then I'm going to put this down through the tube, find the hole, get it down through the hole, find the bolt, get it locked into the bolt, and then I go ahead and loosen it. And then just unscrew that bolt. And I probably have it there. And then do the other side here. Make sure it's nicely engaged with the bolt down there. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, once you get it broken loose, then it loosens up pretty easily down in there. And then when you think you have both bolts completely loosened in there, go ahead and try to slide lowers off like that. Okay, so now I want to push these plungers up and out of the tubes here. And so I just have like a long rod here. In the case, it's a little T-handle hex wrench. And so I'll push this up and stick this up through the bottom little hole in the bottom here. And push it up and out like that. Bring this one up and push it up and out like that. And interesting, like one has a white collar and one doesn't. I'm not quite sure why, but I'll keep track of that. And then next I want to take these boots and slide these off and clean them up. Now in my video of making this longer hex socket here, I had a lot of people ask me, why didn't I just use a 3/8 inch extension? Well, it wouldn't work. I did need one to reach down through this tube here, but when I got to the bottom here is this plunger. Now this plunger, the inside diameter of this plunger is less than a half inch in diameter, and it's deep, the bolt's down here. So I needed the hex socket to reach down through this hole, engage with that bolt down at the bottom to unscrew that from the lower. And so that is why I needed this longer hex socket. Well, I got the fork completely disassembled, so now I want to go ahead and start cleaning these parts up and get ready to start putting it all back together. Okay, well I cleaned all these parts just using dish soap, hot water, and a nylon bristle scrub brush. I did, for the tubes here, I did use a rag with some socket extensions to push the rag down and pull it back out to kind of clean out inside there, as well as these tubes here. Something I did notice was down in the bottom of the lowers here were these two little rubber kind of cushions here. They were down inside here at the bottom. I used a piece of a coat hanger with a little bent hook to kind of fish them out. And so I get everything all cleaned off there. And so next thing I want to do is I have these plungers here. I want to put a little bit of blue Loctite on these threads here and allow it to dry so they'll be ready for installation. So just kind of squeeze a little bit on here, a little bit on there, and then I'll let them dry and so they'll be ready for installation a little bit later. Okay, I'm ready to start putting this back together here. I'm going to clamp this into the repair stand while I work on it, and I'm going to have it mounted so that the front is facing forward here. If you notice that the tubes here are offset relative to the steerer, they're going to be offset facing forward. They're also going to be like angled a little bit forward at the bottom here, and these bolts here on here should be towards the back. Now as I'm putting it together, I want to grease all the parts. You want to use a good grease made for forks, such as SRAM Butter, or what I like to use is Slickoleum. It's a great grease and it's a lot cheaper, but these greases are going to be friendly to all the parts like elastomers and plastic parts that are in forks, so make sure that you use a good grease designed for forks. I'm going to put a thin coating on the uppers here, running up and down here. And then slide the fork boots on. Always remember to put the fork boots on early in the process. It really sucks to get the fork all together and then realize, oh, you didn't put the fork boots on. And then you take the whole thing back apart in order to just get the fork boots on. You don't do that more than once, maybe twice. Speaking from experience. Next I'm going to install the plungers. Again, I'm going to put like some grease around these parts here. And like I said, I already put the blue Loctite on the threads here and let it dry. And now when I pull them out, the one with the white collar came out of the right side, and the one that did not have a collar came out of the left side here. I don't know why they're different, but they are. I don't know if one just kind of, the parts kind of disintegrated, but then I'm going to try to work them so they come out through the bottom here. like that. Okay, there's these two little rubber bumpers that I pulled out of the lowers. I'm just going to slide them onto these plungers like this, and then put a thin coating of grease just around these, like that. Next, I want to grease the bushings and wipers on the lowers here. There's one bushing up around in here. There's another bushing a little bit lower than the wipers right here. So just take a little bit of grease, wipe it around the upper bushings, and then put some grease around these little seals right here at the little top here, these little wipers. Get a nice coating of grease in there. And now the bushings that are down here a little bit lower, they're right around there. They're a little harder to get. So what I can do is I can take a little bit of a stick here with a little bit of grease on there, and then just use this to kind of get some grease down around the bushing down there. Like that. And so now I can slide the lowers into place, make sure the brake bridge and the brake studs are facing forward here. So just slide this up, and you can work these things down through the seals here. Like that. So now I can go ahead and tighten those bolts that I loosened before. So I got my extra long hex socket there. I'm using a shorter extension. I didn't need to quite use that long of one that I used before. Work that weight down in there, get it engaged with the bolt down there, and kind of tighten it. Like this. And then I'll get a torque wrench out a bit. That. And then using my beam torque wrench here, I'm going to torque these down to about 80 inch-pounds. Like that. Okay, the next parts to go in are these little parts here. The part with the little split part of the tubing here, the open part of the tubing here, is going to go face down. This actually gets pressed into the top of the plunger. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop these down like this with that little split side facing down. And then I have a 5mm T-wrench. I'm going to kind of get this down, find that part, and try to work it in and press it down into the top of the plunger. Like that. So now I need to replace the oil in the fork tubes there. The manual calls for extra light oil, and so I have SRAM pit stop here, 5-weight oil, which is pretty light. And it calls for 85 cc's of oil in each tube. 85 cc's is 85 milliliters, so I have like a little measuring thing here. And so then I'll just carefully pour this in here. Like that. Okay, now I'm ready to install the springs. Before I do that, I want to go ahead and kind of push this down there. And I want to coat these springs with some of the grease. Get like a nice coating around on the springs. Now, it may not matter, but when I pulled them out, the red spring came out of this side and the yellow spring came out of this side. So I'm going to go ahead and stay with that. And then these little parts go in next, And I'm just going to put a little bit of grease around them as well. And this part here goes down because that fits in the top of the spring. So just set that in there like that. And just a little bit of grease around this one as well. And drop that in there like that. And now I have the adjuster caps there. And so fit these on and just start screwing these on. Then use my 22mm socket here and kind of tighten these on. Be careful, they're plastic. They're so very easy to strip them out. So don't over tighten them. Like that. Now next, you want to take the boots here and bring them down, and they should snap onto this little part down there, or just kind of attached down there. But on these boots are kind of like stretched out a little bit to where they're not staying down there. So if I can press the fork, it comes out, it doesn't stay there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down, and then I'm going to use a zip tie. So just kind of bring it around here. And I'll bring it down around that little section down there. Tighten it on. Make sure that kind of holds it there. And it does. And then I'll snip it off, and I'll do this on both sides. And then I can always just rotate this around out of the way. Okay, so now I'm ready to reinstall the fork. I've already pre-packed the bearings here with grease. So there's the bottom dust seal. Slide this on here, and then I'm going to set these bearings here onto the crown race. And then here's the bearings for the top of the headset. I'm going to go ahead and set those in there for right now. Then I'll slide the fork up through here. And then the next part to go on is the little cone part to go up here, the wedge, the top dust seal, slide this on here. I have 4 spacers that came off of here, slide these on. And then I can bring the handlebars over here and slide the stem on there. This. Here's the top cap, and I'll screw this on. Get the handlebar roughly straight. I'll need to adjust it after I get the wheel on, but I can kind of get it somewhat adjusted here. So that's roughly straight. Then I'll tighten these clamp bolts on the stem like this. Okay, so now I can work on installing the brakes. And so now I want to reinstall the brakes here so that the little pin goes in the hole. So just slide this on, get the screw all in place here. That, and then bring the other brake over here and get it into place here like that. And done. Well, with the forks anyway, I still got a ton of work to do on this bike, but the forks are moving nice and smoothly, and it was really fun to work on these. I love the inside of them. Very cool with the oil and the spring system. It was cool to see how the oil would pass up through that little plunger and out through that little plastic part and move up and down with the movement of the forks to dampen the spring action. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you found this video interesting or useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, click that little subscribe button, click the bell so you get notified when I come out with new videos. I'm over on Facebook, RJ the Bike Guy. Go over there, like that page. I spend a lot of time over there, and I have a webpage, rjthebikeguy.com. Go check that out. Thank you guys very much for watching.